Hello, tribe. Today I want to talk about an aspect of ADHD that can be tricky to navigate and can come with a lot of tough emotions, especially if you aren't aware of it. What I am referring to is the act of walking away from something due to it not holding your attention anymore, otherwise known as the fear of losing interest. When thinking about the fear of losing interest, your mind might jump to hobbies you used to love or brief interests that captured the attention and no longer do, but it can also affect many parts of your life as well. And if you have ADHD, you most likely have navigated it your whole life and you may or may not be aware of it. I know for myself I've had so many different, seemingly random hobbies throughout my life so far. From trying to learn multiple different instruments, to juggling, baking, painting, learning how vehicles work, filmmaking, and even how to make a proper espresso shot, which is harder than you might think, and the list goes on and on. I don't regret any of these skill sets I've learned, but it created a struggle when it came to larger avenues and decisions like picking a career path, maintaining interest in a job, and what relationships to stay in or to leave. Before I was diagnosed, I often wondered if there was one passion or career for me. You hear it all the time, follow your passion, but how can you find your passion when your passion changes all the time? I remember specifically being in my high school guidance counselor's office in my final year, and her asking me what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, as it was time to pick what college or university course to apply to. I had no idea. I had many interests at the time, but most were still fairly new to me, and towards none of them did I feel the passion or certainty that others had expressed towards their career paths and dreams. So instead of feeling excited for my future, I felt a complete lack of purpose, a lack of control and direction, and a fair amount of shame, guilt, and self-judgment. I wondered if I'd missed something in the high school experience that allowed other people to find their passions, and thus I may never find mine. Was I going to be less successful and a failure in comparison to all my peers? At the time, I was sure of it. This is just one example of how the fear of losing interest can cause grief. But the question is, why do we lose interest so often and so easily? This could possibly be due to the ADHD brain typically having lower levels of dopamine than any neurotypical brain. Dopamine has many functions, but plays a big role in how we feel pleasure. It also helps us focus, affects our mood, our sleep, and most importantly in this case, our ability to find things interesting. Because of this, we are often geared towards interests that can deliver the maximum high with the minimum effort. The ADHD brain is forever curious, so it is always wanting to seek out shiny new things, learning new skills, and understanding how things work. When you start to learn a new subject, a new skill, or meet someone new, learning the basics tend to come fast and the amount of effort required can be, or at least seem, minimal. They are new, shiny, and exciting, and often give a lot of instant feedback. From there, it is possible to hyperfocus or hyperfixate on the subject, sometimes to an unhealthy degree, putting all of our time and energy into it as it leaves us feeling fulfilled, happy, and excited, which isn't always an easy feeling to achieve for people with ADHD. But eventually, after a seemingly random amount of time, we hit a threshold where all of that changes. Things stop being as exciting and become more of a grind to pursue. It could be the subject got repetitive enough to get boring, or the level of skill and difficulty required to keep learning exceeds our patience level. Or even if you're having a bad brain day and can't focus, the internal battle to do the thing, or the external pressure from others could lead to losing interest due to feeling shame or guilt. When something really grips and excites us, it can be hard not to go all in. The ADHD ability to hyperfocus and hyperfixate is strong. So much so it can cause us to tune out the rest of the world at times, making it so we eat, sleep, and breathe the interest, and cause us to prioritize them over healthy activities such as eating and sleeping. Feedback is also incredibly important for people with ADHD, so if you are no longer getting much positive feedback from the interest, that could cause unease about it and lack of motivation. This can often be seen in the workplace. If you aren't getting much feedback on your work, it can seem boring or repetitive, or you may find yourself wondering if you're even doing it right. Whatever is most rewarding in the moment is what can sustain our motivation and steal our attention. So you might still like something, but a new shiny interest could steal your attention and time. And speaking of time, our struggles with it can lead to limited time for interests. And as our memories are also affected with ADHD, spending large amounts of time not doing that interest can seem like a lifetime, and it could lead to us forgetting and losing the feeling of excitement that came from it. Unfortunately, losing an interest can be heartbreaking, especially if undiagnosed or unaware that it's happening. I know I found myself throughout my life wondering what was wrong with me and why I didn't still like something that used to bring me so much joy and excitement. The regret and shame that comes with walking away from something you used to love or used to be a big part of your life can feel earth-shattering. If other people shared your interest or cheered it on, you can find yourself feeling guilty and like you're letting them and their expectations down. As well, a hobby or activity is often how we meet new people and build new relationships. So when the activity no longer interests you and you move on from it, sometimes those relationships can go along with them, which can make it hard to maintain long-term relationships. But I'm here to tell you, you are not flaky, you are not a quitter, and you are not alone. So many people are living with this, and the truth is, all of these skills and interests are actually forming who you are and leaving you unique, skilled, and talented. I have a lot more to say on this topic, so I'm going to cut this into multiple parts in hopes of keeping these videos shorter and more easily digestible. So thank you all for watching. If you like what you saw and want to see more, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.